Hey gang, Mikey P here. I'm just gonna be brief here in this intro and talk a little bit about what's going on. Currently, it is 8 a.m. Wednesday, March 18th. The world is under siege from a pandemic brought on by the coronavirus or COVID-19. The world has literally grinded to a halt, and everyone is locked up in their houses right now, trying to avoid one another. I just want to say, hey, we're gonna get through this shit. This isn't the end of humanity. We are stronger. Just remember, be good to your fellow human beings. Practice your social distancing, and let's just try to be with the people we love and focus on just love. Let's just focus on love. How about that? We'll be locked up in our houses with the people that we love, focusing on love, and we'll get through this. We'll get through this, and that's the end of my PSA. Check out our sponsor, Moded Studios, MODEDSTUDIOS.com. They have all the latest and greatest in embroidered patches and apparel. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at We Speak English Good. You can leave a review or a comment on any of the platforms you listen to podcasts on, Spotify, iTunes. And you can write the show at wespeakenglishgood@gmail.com. Okay, guys, that's it from me. So let's jump over to our guest. Our guest has worked with Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, Timberlake, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Prince, Madonna. The list doesn't end. And a little bit about this conversation. It was before the pandemic was the pandemic, so we don't mention it at all. And it's just business as usual. And he has some great information, some great tips. And let's just get to it. Nisan Stewart. I wish I would have known about your podcast earlier, because it's a great resource in doing research for this. It was a great resource that I only learned about like an hour ago. So,
Wow.
Because I was just Googling stuff, and I was looking up just like interviews of you or anything, and it didn't even really have your name on it in YouTube, and it popped up your podcast. And Life and BPM, right? Or
Yeah, life and beats per minute. Yeah.
Life and Beats Per Minute. Go check it out. It's an excellent podcast. You just had oh my God, I'm gonna get his name wrong. Warren Campbell. Yes.
Yeah, Warren Campbell was my most recent guest. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the one I was listening to, and that's full of just great information about your origins and his origins, because you guys kind of came up together and worked together. But we'll get to that.
Yep.
I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on the show. It's a true honor. Your track record speaks for itself. You've worked with Aaliyah. I think I saw Mariah Carey on there, Madonna. I mean, just the stuff that you've accomplished in your lifetime is amazing. So I do appreciate you talking to me. And so I usually just start off, what's the lineage of music in your family?
So first of all, thank you, Mike, for having me. That's
Not a problem.
I think that's it's an honor, man. And my experience is what I like to say is just one of the many blueprints for people that are trying to do some things. And the journey is not for me, but it's so somebody else can even learn and grow in what they do. But my lineage of music starts with my father and mother in church. So my father was a pastor, and my father played saxophone. My mother played the keys, the organ in church. So that's pretty much how it started. And we have a few other talented musicians in my family. So
Oh yeah, I think I've talked to one of them, Bubby Lewis.
Bubby is my first cousin. Bubby uh, his father and my mother were brother and sisters. Our brother and sisters. They're both deceased, but he, you know, they're in Flint, Michigan. Uh, I would say that our parents, they all grew up in church, so that's where it started. That's how we got, got the fire for it. So
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, if anybody's ever gone to a gospel service and maybe you were from like a Catholic background and you
uh,
the difference, but because I'm Catholic all the way back,
got you.
and then I had the honor actually to play in a Baptist church, and it was boot camp, man. It's
Yeah,
like it's just a different vibe. It's not. It's you're gonna end up dancing. You're gonna be on your feet.
yeah,
It's amazing. I love that's what I love about gospel music and its relationship to with Christianity, because it is taking you are filling the room with the spirit of the music,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
also and so it's a great way, I feel like, to get people in that space to
yeah.
worship.
Yeah, the music plays a vital part rather in the church. I think, and you're right, it is a boot camp. Us as kids, when we were little, I mean, my interest in becoming a drummer happened when I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
From me watching the older guys play in the church and just sitting there watching with my drumsticks, beating on the floor, beating on the hymnal books, stuff like that, and all the way to now, even at my church now, because I pastor a church now. So,
Oh, okay,
uh,
nice.
so the guys that I have that play at my church, from Chris Payton on guitar, Joe Cleveland, like Chris Payton was, just finished his Katy Perry tour, or Clemens, who's a drummer for Khalid. It's so important. Like, that's one thing that has to be right. That music,
Yeah.
and it's cool. It's the best. It's the best place of training.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started getting into the drums at 5. Then you're pretty young. I mean, you grew up in the church. Your dad's a pastor, so you
Yeah,
were inundated. Your brother, who is very notable, and
yeah, rap.
Rapture, who
Yeah,
I mean,
Rapture.
it seems
Yeah,
like this church that your father's church. Did he start the church himself, or
he founded the
he
church in
founded?
1965.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
September of 1965. So he, again, we always had great musicians.
Yes.
My brother-in-law, my sister, me and Rapture, our sister is older than us. My sister is older than us by 15, older than me by 15 years. So her husband was older. He was a drummer. And so I was watching him and learning from him. So, that was one of the things that my father, he invested in, the instruments, having the right instruments, all of us learning. I mean, even having a horn section, because I used
Oh
to play
my
trombone
goodness.
too. We had all of that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's amazing that you're
Yeah.
bad at a horde section. So your dad sort of curated
Yeah.
this he curated the music there specifically since he opened it, because he wanted the best sounding band you could get, and that's sort of why it was such a breeding ground for amazing musicians, I take.
Yeah, well, he started. Well, when they started, it was just him and my mother, and my older brother and sister were young at the time. My mother played, so we had an organ, and we would have had an organ in the house. It was having an organ, is just as valuable as having a dining room table. And so my mother played it. My brother would get on the organ, he played keys, and I would try to noodle around with it. And then drums is just where I just veered off to. But it was important. Like that sound was important. We understood the value and how, at what gospel music did for people in terms of feeling, whether you're sad, down, music plays a huge part of our culture. So my dad, hey, he kept it rolling, and we got on the ball with it, and then we just veered off to a professional side of it, me and my brother. So
Yeah, yeah. So then coming up through the church, and then of course you're part of the Soul Seekers, who you guys
yeah.
have won Grammys, right? Am I
We've
wrong?
been nominated,
You've been
with
nominated.
some stellars. I think, right now we are working on our new album. I think before it's all over, we'll get it. We'll end up
Yeah,
getting a
yeah, we'll
Grammy,
get
I
there.
believe. So, yeah, I believe it.
But so coming up in the church, and And you know what? In the conversation that you had with Warren Campbell in your
Mhm.
podcast, it actually reflected a question that I had,
Okay.
because um, me, having a relationship with working with a church and knowing the musicians there, I've kind of gotten to know the culture, and I know that part of the culture isn't really mixing secular with
Yeah.
with religion. And then so
Yeah.
it was really interesting when I saw you and Warren kind of discuss that on your show. And because that was definitely on my mind, I'm just like, well, was there a blowback? Was there a fallout when you decided to go from the church to, I mean, where you are now?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things was okay. So let me paint the picture for you. I
Sure.
started getting serious about drums, even though I played when I was 5. Started getting the interest rather when I was 5. By the time I became a teenager, I started getting serious. I started watching Dennis Chambers and Vinnie Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, and started improving the skill. I personally thought that when I graduated high school, I was going to be playing football and going getting the football scholarship. I
Oh
ended up
man.
going to junior college. I'm playing football there. I'm thinking it's going to go one way. Doesn't go how I planned. And then it was, at that time I was studying musicians and I became a fan of Ricky Lawson,
Hmm.
who at the time was playing for Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And Ricky Lawson, I was like, I said, if I'm going to have a career, let me see who's the drummers that's making the real money.
Right, right.
And Ricky Lawson was that guy playing with Michael Jackson, playing with Steely Dan, playing on a lot of records. And so I was like, if he can do it, man, let me study him, so forth and so on. So fast forward to answer your question, I get into the professional side of it, starting very low. Um, I think the church was probably upset or mad. Some of it is because, well, now the drummer's gone,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
exactly. Who's gonna
But we
drum?
had other drummers, but that was one. I mean, and I'm speaking outside of the musicians, like some of the membership.
Mm.
And then it was like to my father, who was a bishop and was well known in the organization our church is a part of. He said people used to call him and say, "How are you letting those boys play their secular music? How are you doing that?" And
Mhm.
he took some flack, but he let us do what we wanted to do. But I think when we started making money, I don't think in his mind he could fathom having a professional career like that as a musician.
Yeah.
Even though there were some, but maybe he didn't see it in us at first. But we ended up showing him, and after a while, it was more like, "Hey, man, I love the Lord. Playing music is my profession. That's what I'm gonna do. The only one that can stop me from doing that is God. If He doesn't have a problem with it,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it." So
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
kind of how it ended up, man.
well, I mean, you think about it, if you want to think about it even further, it's like think about all the happiness that the music that you've been a part of and
Yeah,
created. I think
yeah.
about all the joy that that's brought to people, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think, whether you believe in God or not, I mean, that's beautiful, and that's I mean, that's divine, man. It's divine.
yeah, man. It's an amazing thing. Amazing thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your parents weren't completely supportive of your music career then?
I think they were just leery of us getting into it and didn't really know how it was going to go. You hear a lot of bad or horror stories about this musician. This guy got into the industry. They became drug users. This,
Mm.
that. And they were just probably more cautious. Extremely cautious of it. And my thing was like, we're some pretty good kids. We're not perfect, but I think we got it. We know how to handle it. And I think again we got into it at the right time. At the
Mm.
right time. So they ended up, being very supportive of us, just keeping us in prayer, all the traveling. A lot of things happened throughout the career. One of the things that was it was a tragedy was when Aaliyah passed. We were actually supposed to be uh down in the Bahamas with her
Oh wow.
because of that song that she recorded was my brother's and my buddy Eric Seats, their production partners. That was their song, but we didn't go there because we ended up having to do a show with Missy Elliott in Jamaica.
Oh.
So during those times, and that's when cell phones are really just becoming to get popular.
Yeah.
Not like what we have now, the smartphones, but and then my mother, father always just keeping us in prayer but when we come off the road, we get right to church. That was our thing. So
Well, yeah, yeah. I could totally imagine because my mom was the same way. It was like, you could do music, but why don't you go to school and learn something that
yeah,
you can
yeah,
fall back on? Did you
yeah.
did you did you ever have a? Well, I guess you wanted to be a professional football player,
I
but
wanted to do that, and if that wasn't going to work for me, then I was looking into I was getting becoming interested in being a fireman.
mm, yeah.
One of my uncles was one of the first black fire chiefs here in Los Angeles
Oh, that's
County,
awesome.
and so just having conversations with them, and I've been thinking about it, but I wanted to do what I loved, and music is what I love to do.
Yeah.
Starting out with playing the drums, then going on to be a producer, a
Right.
songwriter.
Right.
Um, you know,
So then,
that's what.
so how young were you when you started like really touring and like going and like traveling, getting paid to travel to play? Because you were a professional musician before the production side, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was around 1996 that I got my first professional gig. That was when Warren was the one who called me for it. 96, I must have been about 22, uh, 23, and I'm like figuring it out. I'm like, okay, I think I can get into this. Let me see how I can, I just really started navigating the land and seeing how to get into business, how to meet people, networking. The network game was very strong for me. That's what really was strong. So
In which
I was
way?
22 in terms of just meeting people,
Mm.
being cool when I would go places. I would go to the clubs and just meet people and just be cool. I wouldn't be a jerk. I wouldn't be. And I waited my opportunity. I was just there, waited for my opportunity to play. And I said, when I got that opportunity, I worked hard enough at home playing the drums in my bedroom and listening to Notorious Big and Guy and those great R&B records and some jazz records. I worked hard. I said, when my opportunity came, I was going to do a good job. And when it came, I did but to this day, I'm still getting calls to work. So it's a
and
good
that's all you
thing.
and that's all you could hope for getting in this business is longevity.
Yeah, man.
And
Yeah.
I like I'm at that moment now where I'm thinking about longevity and like what about
Yeah.
like how can I keep this going? Is that gonna work? I
Yeah.
mean, I live in a fairly small market for music. I used to live in San Diego. That's how I knew your cousin Herschel. I played in a
Uh-huh.
band with him, and
Uh-huh.
but now I live in Toledo, Ohio, which is a completely different market than San Diego.
Totally different. Yeah.
So it's been a challenge, but I've what it taught me was to diversify my talents and skills, and
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing that people should know, especially getting into this business. I mean, you know this definitely because you went from a professional musician to production and producing and
Yeah.
composing and all of that. So diversifying your skills is a huge part of this business. Um,
Huge. Huge.
so Warren got you your first gig, and that's when you started flying around, getting paid to travel,
Yeah.
and was that in the gospel scene, or was that secular at this point?
No, that was my first secular gig. I had
Got
been
you.
doing some I guess you could say professional gospel stuff before that. Actually, myself and Warren, like around 1991, 92, there was a band called New Vision, right?
Yeah.
And there was these five Hispanic guys, but they had a very gospel sound like the Winans, you know. They patterned their songwriting after the Winans Commission, and Warren and I actually played in that band.
Okay.
Then I remember 1992, 93 on TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network, there was a guy by the name of Leon Patillo, and he had a TV show. And myself, Warren, and my buddy Isaac from the group New Vision, we were the house band for this television show. We would go on the weekend and record like 15 shows.
Yeah.
And so that was my first stint in doing TV. I don't Now that I think about it, with me now doing Dancing with the Stars for the last 13 seasons, uh, that stuff was actually the training ground, TBN. So it was gospel things before the first secular gig, which came in 96 with Warren. But right around that time, I did something with John B. John B was an artist. He was like the white R&B singer crooner.
Okay.
Um, so Puff Johnson, John B. Uh, that ended up being one of the first gigs I had. My buddy Eric Seats grew up with him. Eric was another great drummer. Shout out to him. We grew up together. Um, just did a couple gigs with him, but it was that right there. Then it shifted. I was like, okay, now let me go. Let me see how large can I go. And in my mind, okay, I can't play for Michael Jackson because Ricky Lawson is playing for Michael Jackson. That's his gig. So let me see. Then hip hop started really taking that year, 95, 96. It's Tupac, it's
Yeah.
Biggie, it's those things. And then it shifts. And then we're able to we get a random call to play for Timbaland on the Keenan Ivory Wayans show.
Oh,
My
cool.
buddy Shep Crawford called us. Keenan Ivory Wayans had a late night talk show host. We go on there, we kill it, and from there, that's when the career went to a whole nother level.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so after that, that's when you were getting the calls to come and play with, and then so that's how you met Timbaland then, and you started your career with him.
yep. So we did the Keenan Ivory Wayans show, and then what happened was Timberland, they had a show. It was, I could tell you, this is crazy. Back in the day, there was a house. We used to have a House of Blues that was here on Hollywood
Uh,
Boulevard. I mean, on Sunset
Sunset,
Boulevard,
yeah.
Hollywood. And they were having the Soul Train Music Awards, which was a huge award show. Now it's the BET Awards, but the Soul Train Music Awards was huge and black music. And so they would have big parties. And Timberland had a party at um, so Def Jam had a party,
Mm.
excuse me. Russell Simmons record label at the time. Def Jam had a big party. Kevin Liles tells Timbaland, yeah, we want you guys to perform, your whole crew. It's Aaliyah, it's Missy Elliott, it's Genuine, it's
Wow.
Timbaland and Magoo, and it's Timbaland and Magoo. And after that, it's this group Player.
Okay.
And so we do this show. They were like, it was a Wednesday. They was like, after we taped the show, they was like, well, can you guys rehearse? We got a show Friday. But we got to learn about 30 songs. Can y'all do it? We're like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Go on that Thursday, we rehearse, learn all the songs. At this time, nobody was really using bands like that. A couple people
Mhm.
were. LL Cool J used the band on one of his MTV Unplugged specials.
Oh, yeah.
But we did that show, and everybody in music was there, black music. Everybody else before, nobody wanted to come after us. We smashed that show, and Timbaland was like, I'm never doing a show again without the band. Moving from there, everywhere we went, everyone would do shows, but we had the band, and we were producers, like young producers. So we kind of knew how to play the music, not just as musicians wilding out, but we knew
Mhm.
how to play those records live.
Yeah, yeah.
And that from there, that's how I met everybody. It was out of here for me.
And yeah, man, that's pretty so at that time was Timbaland or was this like right before? I mean, did he have any success under his belt or
Oh yeah. So
I'm
he
sorry, I don't have the whole
no,
timeline
I'm gonna
down.
give it to
I
you. No, I'm gonna
appreciate it.
give
I
it to you.
appreciate it.
I'm gonna give it to you. At that time, he had just really started. Like the Missy Elliott album came out, and
Mm,
Timbaland and Magoo album came out. The Aaliyah, he was just in the beginning of. He had
right.
just produced all those records, Genuine, so they had hits,
They had hits.
right?
That's
They
right.
had hits. They were new, but they had hits. They had came out of the Devontae Swing camp.
Mm,
Devontae Swing, who produced Jodeci, one of the members of
okay.
Jodeci. And this was when they left that camp, all of those artists, they came out, and Timbaland, every record he would produce would come out and be a number one. Boom, boom, boom. And it was great. He was, and playing those beats, and then him calling us into the studio. And my brother Rapture had already started producing. He had already got him and Eric Seats got their feet wet in that. And then I was like, because one day my brother came and showed me a check that he made from producing one song, right? And we were both living at home. He knocked on my door. He said, "Look, look," and he showed me this check for $20,000.
Dang.
I was like, I think I'm about to. Speaking of how we're talking about diversifying, I was like, you know what? I'm making good money playing the drums, but if I could do that too, let me see if I can do it. And being in the studio with Timbaland and watch it, the genius of Timbaland was, you know, it was like the opening. I was like, okay, I think I can do this. Let me invest some of my money. Let me buy me an MPC. And then me and my production partner, we bought a keyboard and just started doing it and gave it a shot. And then now it's not only are we playing, but we're also now writing songs and producing records.
Right, right.
Um,
Which
yeah,
which is which is I mean, that's a great place to be.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what you want right there. Uh,
yeah,
so what
exactly.
do you remember anything off the top of your head that you could remember that anything that you learned production wise from Timbaland that that stuck with you and maybe something that you still do with that information?
So the one of the things, Tim, what I noticed with him, the record had to feel right.
Mhm.
You know, it had to have a feel. It had to have a certain hump to it, a certain bounce to it. And I watched him. I studied it. He doesn't. I mean, next time I see him, I got to tell him. I think he's probably may have heard some interviews I've done before, but watching him create was inspiring. Everything that's coming is happening, coming out of the speakers is happening from your own fingers.
Mhm.
And he created a vibe, and that's the one thing I learned from him in the production phase. On the other hand, because right after that, I became part of the Hitmen. I was managed by Diddy,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And so I learned from Puff how to make it sound and how to create a vibe. But I learned from Tim how to make a record have a feel.
Hmm.
So those two things. So I was just blessed, man. I can't, most people don't have that story. I was just blessed to just be in there and kind of witness these two things, and that was really the training ground for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just being in proximity of that kind of talent has to just
Yeah.
do something. I mean, it's like when people are like, if you want to learn how to play jazz, go to the jazz club and hang out with jazz cats. Like, go
Yeah.
and just inundate yourself with it. And I don't know what it is, but it's like almost like reverse osmosis or something. It
Yeah.
just you just are able. It's interesting because like when I was playing with jazz cats and stuff, I just never understood it, and like I don't get the rhythms and how you have to have a certain way of playing the notes. It's not just playing notes, but you gotta like I didn't get it. And then
Right.
when I started actually working with these musicians, like it just came natural. I'm just like, my God, what have I been doing? so,
Right. Right.
so
It's
I
just
mean,
a feel,
it's
man.
a very important thing is to if you want to be better or if you want to learn something, go to the source. Go to and you were just fortunate enough to have like the source, like
Yeah, man. I was
Timbaland
like,
and Puff
really?
Daddy
Oh man.
and those guys. I mean, what those are great teachers to learn from or, yeah, or just people to have in your life to learn that kind of skill. So
Absolutely.
so when did you what was the first song where you were acting as a producer and composer, either one?
So the very first song that I put out myself and my production partner at the time, Dante Nolan. Um, we our very first song that we produced was on Missy Elliott's So Addictive album called For My Peoples.
Okay.
For My Peoples ended up being a single overseas, which did so well over the years. It still does well. We're still getting checks from that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
that was my very first song that I produced. Um, Following that, uh, again working with Missy Elliott, she asked me and one of my other buddies to produce an album on a young lady named Tweet.
Hmm.
And so we produced Tweet's whole first album with the exception of two songs. So out the gate, I was blessed to do that. They saw something in us and entrusted the whole record to us. And I mean that record ended up selling over 1 million copies. So it was
Yeah,
good,
that's
man.
beautiful. When now when you're starting a beat, when you're starting a new song or whatever it is, where do you usually start when you're starting? Like when you're producing, where do you start with a song?
It starts with for me. It starts with a sound. Like if I'm creating beats, it starts with a sound. There's a sound that may be the sound of a baton banging on bottle cap. It may be, something weird, something that's in my head, you know, or I may be hearing a melody in my head. But a lot of times for me, being a drummer, a lot of times it will start with the beat.
Mm.
I was create the beat first, and then hear the melody in my head, and then add that later.
What DAW do you usually like to work with when you start your beats or making beats?
What program you
Yes,
saying?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Logic for me
Logic.
is Logic.
Yeah.
Now I got to get into Ableton. I just built a new studio,
Oh, nice.
and so I haven't got in there yet. I've been so busy, but I got Ableton because I got my young guy that's gonna train me on the Ableton because they say once I get that, it's like it's a wrap. Once I
It well,
get that.
it's kinda true. I mean, I love Ableton, and it's so complex, but, like, once you get past all the learning curve, the
Mhm.
workflow is incredible. You're just I mean, like, once you get it down, it is what people say it is. It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
It was
yeah. So
actually
I
re
see guys.
yeah,
I
man.
watch guys do it, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like, I and Logic is cool too, man, but did you how was the learning curve for you on Logic? Because for me, it was terrible, and I'm still dealing with it. I'm still like, what was
Well, for me, coming from using the MPC
yeah,
and all this MIDI gear, all that stuff, and then going into Logic, at first it was like, but I knew that I had to do it. I had no
right.
choice. I could be Blockbuster in the Netflix world if I wanted to, but that ain't gonna work.
Right.
It was like, okay, you got to learn what's popping now. Technology is evolving at a high rate, and it was good. Learning Logic and figuring it out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and now technology is still getting faster and faster, evolving.
You're
So
telling me, man. I'm trying. It's just it's too much to even try to comprehend at this point. It's
yeah,
just
man.
I mean, it's just every day it's something new. Um
Yeah, man.
so I'm really interested in talking to you about just production in general.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
So I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm on
No, no, no.
phone.
You
So
got it.
I have questions, but they are not in
Good.
order because why would
No worries, bro. Just shoot. I got you. I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you.
I appreciate it. I certainly do. Um, so how are you feeling about the way that production is now? Like what like with drum packs and like these like I don't know these pre-made beats that people just sort of throw on. I mean it's almost like how Fruity Loops was, but like it just seems like that's all across the board now. It just seems like a lot of
Yeah.
people are just using. How do you feel about like how people just use these pre-made beats and I mean like are you for that? Are you with that? Are you against that? Where are you at with that?
Well, this is the thing. Let me say break it down like this.
Please.
We can like what we like or dislike what we like.
Mm.
The consumer is the one that tells whether or not you know, we're gonna have a career. So I say that to say, yeah, right now everybody with the trap beats and these programs, my son tells me, he plays the drums, and he tells me, Dad, I made this beat. I made this beat. He took a bunch of pre-made stuff together and put it together like he
Yeah.
made this beat. I'm like, okay, and I never want to shoot him down, but I'm
Right.
like, you really didn't make that beat. I hear what you're trying to say, but that's where technology is. But I think the creative person to me, I'm wondering about the next sound. Okay, what is going to be the next sound?
Mhm.
It's going to have to take somebody or something that it's outside of those prepackaged, pre-made beats to do it. In my personal opinion, that way you can have some authenticity. Like you used to back in the day, you could tell when Timbaland produced something. You can tell when Teddy Riley produced something, or when Devontae Swing produce something because their creative identity in it. But now with the prepackaged stuff, it's kind of like hard. Everybody with the beats, everybody's programming the same kind of beats, and
Same rises,
so
same
I'm like,
same breakdown.
same breakdown, same going from the back and forth from the one to the four of the major note. It's just so so I say okay, and I say okay. It's easier for everybody to do it.
Right.
That's the way I say it. It's so easy for everybody to do it.
Well,
But,
I mean, coming from a background of musicianship, like with a high regard of musicianship,
mhm.
how do you feel about how engineers are kind of the new musicianship, and the people who are mixers, the mixing engineers are the ones who are the ones with the musicianship, because they're going and correcting all the mistakes the musicians are making. What's
Yeah,
your take on
that's the
that?
that's just the way technology has just went.
Mm. Yeah, well, yeah, I know,
And,
kind of.
so I don't have anything good or bad to say about it.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, man, it is what it is,
yeah,
and I think that, shout out to the engineer. What it's done is created more opportunities and, more value for the engineers. Not that I mean, the value has always been great. You can't you know, make it sound right, or you can put it together without them. But you're right, that's just the way it is now. And I have to just say, hey, I'm not gonna give you no publishing because you made a breakdown of what but yeah, I mean it's great. But it is great.
yeah.
That's just where we are right now.
Well,
So
I like that you said that it's not. I mean, like, you're like, it's not really up to us; it's up to the consumer, and like,
yeah,
and if the consumer is out there buying music from a producer that made it from some beat packs and some sample packs, and just sort of slapped it together, like, like some Apple loop session, like,
yeah,
who are we to judge that? Because
yeah. That's what they're doing.
obviously
That's
that's
what
what
they're
people
buying.
want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my kids, when they're listening to music, that lets me know my kids are my barometer.
mm.
So I can, that's what they're into, these songs, and hey, I don't ever want to sound like the old guy that hates on the new stuff. It's kind
Right.
of like guys that say, "Oh, Stephen Curry and them, they play basketball, but they're not." It's not like with my in the Michael Jordan days. Not you discredit one by saying just because it's evolved to what it is now, doesn't have every element as before, doesn't mean it's not still good. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I want to always approach that thought with respect because it's easy to fall in that category where you hate. Oh, they're not creating real music. Back in the day, they used to create this and that, and it was okay, yeah, but it's things have changed. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
No, I'm with you though. I'm with you. It's like, I mean, if this is how music is made and that's what people are finding success with, then well, more power to them. Be successful with your Fruity Loops or whatever.
exactly, exactly.
But I mean, exactly. It is what it is, and it's up to the consumer. So whatever. Uh,
Yeah,
honey, now, I mean, musicians are known or notorious for having egos that might be a little bit out of proportion. Um,
yeah.
and you work with a lot of artists and a lot of artists with success. Is there ever been a time, and I'm not asking you to name names or anything, that's ridiculous, but has there been a time where you're faced with the challenge of ego, and then how did you get past it to get the project done?
Yeah, ego plays a part in the game. You talking about from the artist
Yeah,
side or
from the
from the
artist side, because
musician side?
working with an artist as a producer, have you ever ran into a moment where ego is sort of getting in the way of getting the
Yeah.
project finished?
Well, ego can get in the way of a person's cognitive space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So I think that there was one artist that I worked with, very huge, uh, and let me see, how can I say this without saying no names? So bottom line is some things were happening wrong within the camp.
Mhm.
And they came to me and thought it was me and this and that, and that was kind of weird. But they were having one of those artist moments, and so the tour manager at the time, one of their people that worked for their company, came to me and was like, "Yeah, it's just we know it's bad," and they tacked on an extra $20,000 on this $40,000 bill that I sent them, and it was great. It was great that that happened, but I witnessed that. For other, most of it is the artist's will to do well and to succeed.
Mhm.
Um, when Beyonce's first album came out, which funny thing is, me and Missy Elliott and my boy Craig Brockman produced and wrote a song on there. And then I ended up going on that tour. with her. I did the first half of the tour. My buddy Gerald Hayward, who was her original drummer, couldn't do it at the time, so I went out. And B was cool. She was like, "Yeah, bring Nisan." So watching her create, she wants to get it right. So it's not really ego. I think the wrong person. Sometimes people misdiagnose what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was never ego with her. It was more of I want to get it right. Let's get it
Yes.
right. Paying everybody well. Let's be professional. Let's go.
Yes.
Sometimes they may have to scream. Sometimes they may have to, whatever. When they're trying to get down to the nitty gritty, switch to Diddy. Working with Diddy, it was never an arrogant thing in our creative space. I think, and if there was arrogance, it was never on the negative side for me. For him, it was like we working with the best. We about to hit the biggest spots in the world, the biggest arenas in the world. We got to kill it. Okay. I need you as a musical director to be on your game. I need you, then we'll rehearse 12, 14, 16 hours in the day, you know, all to get a finished product. And when we're going through it, we like sometimes I'll start at point A because it's my vision. He'll take me from B to Z, 0 to 1, all the way back to A. When I was, but was it worth it or is it worth it? Yeah. So, but I never had a negative, you know, thing happen like that with artists. And my thing is, I don't stay around long with artists that are that way.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And the older I got, the more peace I needed to have in my space.
Yeah,
So
man. I'm feeling that. I just stepped away from a project because it was just too mentally straining. And
yeah,
and that's all I'm going to say about it.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think they
I get
listen to
it.
this
I get
podcast.
it.
But it
Uh,
was just I couldn't. I'm almost 40. I can't. I'm not. I got a kid. I'm not
yes, sir.
dealing with little shitty attitudes. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
what do you prefer more? Do you well, I'm sorry, not prefer. Do you when you're doing production, do you work do you do the writing as well, or is there times when you're taking a song that was sent to you and is like, "Hey, I need you to, make a beat or make a song to these chords or whatever," or
Yeah,
how, like something like that?
I've had both of those happen. Both
Okay.
of those situations have happened. Trying to build and trying to create a song. People have sent me stuff and said, "Hey, what can you do with this? Can you come clean this up?" Yada yada. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But sometimes it's opportunity to be on this record. What do you think? If it's something that I feel that I would want to do, yeah, I'll give it a shot and go after it and just create from scratch. Put the right team around me to to build and create the song.
Yeah.
So,
Y-
it's a good thing. So either one, I don't really have a preference.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I just want to be a part of good things.
Yeah, and
I
create
want to be
cool
a part
things.
of good things,
Yeah.
cool things where it's fun and it's something where you can have a story about it from you know from in years. Like remember when we did that record? Remember when we did this? That type of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course, man. I mean, creating the life you want to live, and that's
yeah,
that's beautiful. Is that an Oscar, by the way, back there that I'm looking at in on the other side?
that's not a real
Oh,
Oscar.
okay, I was like, you just got an Oscar up there.
That's a Dad of the Year award my
Oh,
kids
that's
gave
nice.
me.
That's even
So
better.
it's better than the
It's better
Oscars.
than the Oscar.
It's better than the Oscars.
Um,
Man.
so like I was thinking today, I was talking to my wife because me and my wife are a writing team, and and I
Oh,
was like,
oh,
I was like, I was like, I was like, you got any questions for Nissan? And because we're kind of going through this thing right now, and I was asking about ego and stuff, and
yeah.
we're working with this client who's working with a producer who has some hits under his belt. He works with Def Jam, and he's kind of first of all, we wanted to revise his beat he sent over because it wasn't really hitting what we thought
hmm
was right.
hmm
Um, he got upset, but he did it, and he worked with us, and he said, "Hey, I thank you for challenging me." But then when we went to now she's doing these TV spots, and he's not sending the stems over. He's not being compliant. He doesn't want people to know his work. He keeps saying he doesn't want people to know his work, and I get that aspect where you don't want people to know your secrets. Um, I don't know, like that situation. Is that common in the production world? Is it common for people to
Yeah.
be upset about revisions? Is it common for people to not wanna send their stems and not wanna do that? I mean, coming from your position in this
Yeah, it's
business.
definitely common. Definitely common. You have people who, you know, I could tell you a story. I won't name names of a producer sent a song to another producer. They're moguls. Um, even now, uh, the producer the song was sent to changed some stuff. The main producer got mad and shut the whole thing down. Like,
Oh,
you're not using that,
yeah.
uh, to the point where, back then it was 2 inches. We weren't really heavy Pro Tools just yet,
Yeah.
but it was a huge problem. People do that. You don't want to just send your stuff off to just anybody. You want to be able to. First of all, there has to be a level of respect. And if you create something, you send it to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, I changed this and that," and didn't tell you,
Mm.
that's one thing. But you have to communicate. It has to be communication. We're territorial. We all are territorial about our stuff. We're passionate, and we want to protect. It's like protecting our babies.
Yeah, of
That's how
course.
people are with their tract. So that is a case. But I think the way to solve any issues is just how to communicate from both ends. It should always be from both ends. And if the communication can never go well, then hey, you might want to say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't work together.
Yeah, and
You know?
that's kind of where the point where we're at right now. But we're working with him. He, like I don't know him personally. He's like we're all working remotely here. Like our client's in Spain. He's in the
Yeah.
UK or LA or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
So how often are you working remotely? When are you usually working with the artists you're producing for directly?
I usually work with the artist, but I haven't. I kind of took some time away because I wanted to focus on some new things. And again, I'm getting ready to get back in the studio. I got some calls to get in and work with some specific artists on some specific things. Um, but for the most part, um, it's usually travel, and I'll go down in Atlanta and sit up. I used to go down to Miami and sit down and create there. Artists want to create in certain settings. That's always the greatest thing. So I lived in Miami off and on, some months of my life working on specific things. Um, but yeah, people don't want you to travel, come to them. But then LA's so great, people love to come to LA.
Right?
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean,
it used to switch. It would either be we're in New York doing a bunch of records, we're in LA doing a bunch of records, and then Miami came in the scene, which Miami became my favorite city. I love to work down there, so I'll go down there. And
what
post
about
up.
Miami? Do you like so much?
I love the city. I love the nightlife. I love the food. Hold on. I love the city, the nightlife, the food, all of that. Everything was just amazing. The studio used to work at the Hit Factory down there a lot, or Circle House down there a lot. It was just a vibe. It was a real vibe. So from uh, going to the studio, working late, taking a break, going to the club, getting inspired, coming back, working to the leaving the studio sometimes 8, 9, 10 in the morning to go to sleep, wake up and eat breakfast in the afternoon, and do it all over
Just do
again.
it again.
It was a grind. That grind was really good. We had a lot of fun doing that. Some of the best times of my life.
Is there any current producers that sort of inspire you right now, or is there any current producers or techniques in producing that you would like to expand upon or put your touch on?
My One of my favorite producers is 40, who produces a lot of Drake stuff.
Oh, okay.
Um, Rock, I'm partial to my guys that I like. I love uh one of my buddies who I get to work with often, Damian Farmer, aka Damo. Shout out to the Good People Club. He's one of my favorites in doing records right now. Um, uh, One of my favorite sounds is still my brother and Eric Seats, Rapture and Seats. Shout out to Q Beats. Their sound from back then is still ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But I also love D Mile, shoot, he's a great producer. Produced a lot of hits with Beyonce, her, and a lot of people. And then like Rockwilder is still one of my favorite. Just he knows what he's doing. I love that New York grimy thing
Mhm.
that he has going on. Again, these are not no pre-made beat makers. These are
Right.
some real they hands on, but they can do that stuff too, and they know how to flip that. So those I would say those are some of my favorite guys. And then Battle Cat.
Mm.
I love DJ Battle Cat. He's got this music sound that's really slapping. It's so LA. It's crazy. More than I was talking about that on my show.
Yeah, you were.
Um,
Uh,
but Battle Cat is crazy.
the one thing that you guys were talking about that was because, and we kind of touching back on getting blowback for switching into or going into the secular realm,
Mhm.
was that it wasn't a thing that people did when you guys were doing it. It wasn't church musicians weren't doing that. It was looked down upon. And so when
Right.
you guys in the conversation on your podcast, you were talking about how he's like, I don't know if we were the first, but I think that we made it okay.
Yeah.
And
So to that, there were some musicians that did it before us in Los Angeles. There wasn't no crews like that.
right.
And I thought about that even in the conversation. There's some other guys that have done it before us, but again, we out here, I believe it was us that was straight out of the church. Like those guys, their fathers are pastors, and
Mhm.
they're
Right.
not gonna go for it. But however they did, they did uh, support what we were doing. So I think that um, again, we were some of the first guys to really go as a crew and get in and just get it happening. I mean, and we made it cool. They were like, okay, and now all of a sudden you got hundreds of people that have moved to Los Angeles to pursue their career. Shout out to all the youngins. This is big world, big business, and we got some young ones that are doing great things. Some it's too tough for them, but yeah, I think we played a huge part in that. Definitely,
Yeah, and
definitely.
when I talk to musicians around here, even especially gospel musicians, musicians that come out of the church, I mean, your name always comes up. It's always your name. Like your
Yeah.
name always comes up, and it's like
Mhm.
like I don't know. I'm I don't know how much they know about your past and know about like what your crew did for switching into secular for church musicians, but like it's always your name. It's always I can't remember all the names, but
Well,
like
it's a lot of guys. There's a guy from there. Matter of fact, Toledo. I think he's from or Akron. Garrison Brown, another
mm,
great drummer who I put on his first R&B gig. Garrison is by far one of my favorite drummers in the church service. He came over. I hired him. I brought him in and hired him for because a lot of things I do, I don't go out and play, but I'll musical direct it and just put it together,
mhm,
help put the show together. And Garrison came out of the church. It was tough for him. It's different. They're two different worlds.
yeah.
Where you may play well in this market, may not in the next market, but he adapted and became good. But guys from all over the country, so I'm pretty much known for that. I mean, I think it's a blessing, and I try to mentor the young guys as much as possible so that they don't, that they can keep their head in this game because the game is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't handle the game will handle you. That's for sure.
Is there any moments in your career where you felt handled um
No,
in
I
what you're
don't
talking about?
think so. I don't think so. I think really it's your state of mind. I was blessed to have my parents. My father was a businessman. I was blessed to have him. I was blessed to have him to teach us what it means to have a drive to do great
Mm.
in uh, what we're doing. So it didn't never, nothing never handled me. Like I hear stories all the time. I hear all these crazy stories about this one got, that one got, you know, uh, not with nothing major. I never had that happen. I have an artist that owes me $3,000 to this day. I kind of wrote it off. but he has some issues going on with him,
Yeah.
and I've been blessed so far beyond $3,000 that when I see him, I still give him that look, but he's gonna pay me one day, one way or another. But at the end of the day, that's minor compared to the stuff that I have heard, and that's the only one time that's ever happened. This particular person had a drug issue. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So it was really bad, and their career has paid for it far more than I could ever pay them back. So
Wow.
and then I'm still praying for them to come out of that so that they could be well. I want their well being to be great, and then once they're well, then they can give me the $3,000. but
Get
but
better so you can pay me.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? After but nah, like I've heard stories. I've heard stories about deals. And one of the things, I had good friends, and I know how to listen to advice. You cannot come in this game and just think you can do it the way you want to do it. I haven't had no tax problems, thank the Lord. In my 20, plus years of doing this, I haven't had that. When I first got into the game, my buddy, Warren, he's the one. He said, "Man, make sure you get a business manager." Because people with these taxes, they don't,
Yeah.
the money they don't play when it comes to entertainers and taxes, which we all know.
Um,
I never had an issue. I got the right business manager, had the right lawyer. It's been with the same lawyer, Roger Patton, since the beginning. Anything I do, I call him. Um, so I never have gotten handled, but I've heard stories about people got handled. I'm like, how can they do that? I've heard about people say things about Diddy handled them this way, and Puffy. I'm like, oh, that ain't really ever happened to me. I think because I read the paperwork and me and my lawyer talked about it, and
right.
we weren't desperate to make any moves, but we wanted to make the best moves that were best for my career, and I didn't want to settle for anything less than what I thought I was valued at. In most situations, so no, I've been blessed to not be handled. But that's why I think I'm the perfect person to talk to people, these younger musicians, producers, songwriters, to help them not get handled in a negative way.
Yeah, man. No, and no, I'm talking to some kids out of Detroit right now who are putting together those kind of seminars. Actually, he's
Mhm.
out there in Detroit. In Detroit, my bad. He's out there in LA currently, but he's but yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a big thing, kind of a big movement going on right now where people are you see it all over YouTube or Instagram, and people I talk to is people giving out it's starting to be known, like the information is getting out there about how to
Yeah.
succeed in this business, and
Mhm.
there's always these tenants that these regular tenants, like know your material, like know your craft, like be on
Yeah.
time and do the thing. What are some of the things that you could add to that list? Talking to these musicians coming up right now.
Know the business enough to know what don't ever sign anything.
Mm,
Never sign anything without proper uh, consultation. Don't sign your stuff away. Your publishing, don't just sign that away. Don't just give that away. You know, uh, and if you have a good lawyer, your lawyers will be the bad guy. Let the lawyers get in the ring and fight, and you maintain a good relationship with the artist you're working for or whoever you're working with. That's what matters.
mm,
Um, uh, that's the main thing. Yeah, be on time. No, all money isn't good money. All money is not good money. So kind of make sure you're sensitive to that. You don't always have to go. You're not gonna get it all overnight. To let it bake. No microwave the career. Let the career bake
mm,
like a good pie. Let it take its time. Just keep you put in the good ingredients and keep doing what you're doing, and the right things will happen. You'll have time to take it out, take this out, put that in, add this here, there, into what you're doing. Let your career bake. Uh, be careful who you hang with. And one of the main things I say is don't, stay away from the drugs. Don't let the drugs influence you because right now that's what's happening. And, our young guys are dying,
yeah.
overdosing more than ever in terms of, as far as I see, like this artist dies this week, that artist that, be careful, be careful.
Well, yeah,
And
oh, please.
family is number one. Family is number one. That's the last thing I'll say.
Oh yeah, that's a great list, and just to kind of speak on like the whole drug culture right now, which seems to be like at the heart of like the music too. It's like if you're not hearing people about talking about Pop and Molly's, you're hearing people about it's become part of the culture.
Yeah.
And that's strange, and it's not strange. I mean, a lot of things have become part of this culture. That I don't know, but this is how it goes, right? This is
Yeah,
it's
it's
the world
sad.
we're
It's
living
sad.
in.
But when you think about our kids, like I'm cautious of what I listen. I listen to music with my kids. I'm cautious. I teach them. All I could do is pray that we teach them right, man. Because
Mm,
you never want them to fall into bad habits, fall into certain things. They got to do. You want your kids to live and do well. So as we try to raise them in this culture,
mhm.
we want to teach them wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what it's at.
Well, what's your musical training besides the church? Obviously, did you go to school at all? Do you read? Like, what's your where are you at with all that?
I do read. I had to teach myself how to read. I
Mm.
didn't go to school.
Oh,
I'll tell you a funny thing. I think it was maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when the first time I had to read. Okay, I do a lot of work with Ray Chu from New York.
okay.
Um, and we did a session. We were doing the Emmys,
Oh, okay.
and we were doing a session for what's my man's name that played Doogie Howser? What's his name?
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris is the host. So they did, the opening monologue. They do this whole thing, and it has a bunch of music, and it's like a 60-page chart that they put in front of us.
Wow.
Full orchestra, full everything. I'm the drummer. I'm like, okay, they didn't send us the music. I didn't have time to listen to it. Okay. I mean, they didn't give me nothing to listen to. I'm hearing it as I'm in the studio. And I didn't really read like that. That session made me say, if you don't get out and read, you're gonna screw up and miss out on a lot of money, a lot
Mm.
of opportunities. I made it through that session. I'm surprised I didn't pee on myself. Real talk. I'm gonna just tell you what it is. Like like watching it, and Ray. I would play with Ray a lot. When he would do stuff out here in LA, and he was like, "Man, you might as well. You need to learn how to do it." And then another time, Teddy Campbell, one of my good friends, he was doing the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Had an emergency. They needed me to come fill in. I didn't really know how to read the charts. I said, I can't do this. I went and figured out how to read music, which helped me because Dancing with the Stars, we're reading charts and it's all live.
Wow.
We don't have time, you don't have time to sit up there and, oh, let's run it again, like for an hour. No, it's like we're gonna run the song like once or twice, once if we can. So I had to teach myself how to read, and I'm still, I'm good. I'm good enough to get the job done, but I want to master it. So I am in preparation to take some, not from schooling, but from a great drummer teacher out here, because I think it's important. If you want opportunity, I don't want to miss out on any opportunity. I want it to be well diverse enough to play jazz. You call me for a jazz gig. You call me for funk, hip hop, pop. I want to be able to do it all. And so, same thing reading. I want to be able to read. Yeah, okay, pull out the chart. Let's see what it's talking about.
Wow.
So,
It's to me it's so fascinating that like you had this amazing career as a professional musician, and then just 8 years ago
yeah,
it popped up. You're like, okay, well here it is now.
yeah.
Now
Like,
you have to. Was it something that you found yourself avoiding at all?
well, I think I was comfortable in my other space. It
Mm,
was easy. I'm doing all of the hip hop, R&B stuff. Like all the A&Rs and execs were calling me to put the bands together. And I could
mm,
decide if I wanted to play or not. Or I figured as an opportunity to put somebody on, I would do that. And it was cool. But then it was a challenge. Oh yeah, I want to play that. I want to play some of this other music. Let me see how that goes. And then, shout out to Ricky Minor, who is, a mentor directly and indirectly in what he does and watching him do his thing. I had to learn it. and I'm glad that I ended up learning it. Some will say, well, maybe I learned too late because but no, there's no such thing as too late.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It was no, it's just fascinating that like you were able to have this crazy, amazing career without it.
Mhm. Yeah.
In LA, especially, where I mean, like you said, you're working on Dancing with the Stars, and you don't have all day to work on one song or whatever it is. You
Yeah.
have now and go. So
Right. Well, I think the main thing too is that's inspiring when you see legends like Quincy Jones. See, guys, this is the thing that's the trip. So a lot of church musicians, the talent and how they learn the music. Like, so we could talk about my cousin Bubby, right?
yes,
I remember when Bubby picked up the bass. I remember his sister. His sister is a great drummer. Was one of my inspirations as well, Benita. We being family musicians, and Bubby picked up the bass one year, and he was just okay. The next year, he's playing everything. I'm like, how did that happen?
right.
Like, what did he do? Is there secret bass pellets or a bass drink you can drink, musician drink? You know. So I think to the other side of it, we get to this place where we're comfortable because we're just so good. We
hmm
can sit down and play. I was that guy in school. My freshman year in high school, I was in the marching band, but I was just listening to the guys play what they play, and then okay, oh yeah, I got it, and I would play it. I wasn't reading
Yeah.
recitals. I memorized it. I didn't even really read. Now I wish had I gone back even back then, my career probably would have went even much far broad, not
Mhm.
farther broader, if you will, um, if I would have done that. But again, I've been there. There's been sessions where they're looking for people that read. You think about. I remember, and I was in it. I just was out of town when they did it. But when Hans Zimmer, I believe, did the Superman when Superman came back out
Mhm.
a few years ago, and they called a bunch of top drummers for the session. And you had to be able to read the
Yeah.
music, and they all played together. So I think that, yeah, I would encourage younger musicians, pick it up, learn it. You can now with YouTube, you can learn anything.
Right? That's what I'm
You know what I'm
saying.
saying?
These
Get on
YouTube
YouTube, learn.
players, man.
Yeah, yeah, man. I learned it. They got it. How to read drum music, drum charts. There's
Yep.
something on there. You Google it. Yeah, do it. Don't shortchange yourself. Get all the information and wisdom you can.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing about coming up in the church. And one thing I noticed with my short tenure, not even tenure, but my short time with the gospel band is
Uh-huh.
that your ear is your main tool because you might practice it in one key, but then a
Mhm.
bishop will come up and start, singing, and I don't know, I the terminology escapes me. Is hooping? Is that what it's called?
Well, when they're hooping, when they're preaching,
Yeah,
they're having they're really excited about the text they're preaching, and now
right,
they're singing through what they're saying, which
right,
is hooping. And then they're modulating and doing things in different keys. And you have to that's again, that's that church training, that
right.
grind. You gotta play it in every key.
So you're
Like
almost
it's not
yeah,
like my mother. Like when my mother would play, she played in a few keys. Person get up and sing, she'll find the key that's closest to it and just start playing in the key that she could play it in. Start singing loud, and now the singer has to adjust to her. But no, not in this generation. No, you got to know how to play it all. And now keyboard players are exposing other keyboard players for transposing when they
oh,
doing all of that. So
oh yes,
yeah,
oh
man.
yeah, oh yeah. I saw you hit the transpose button. Don't
Yeah,
act
you
brand
get on the
new.
keyboard and you see, oh, wait a minute, this ain't the right
Yeah,
key.
that's not C minor. That dude's
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
transposing.
exactly,
Well,
exactly.
uh, I mean, like with that kind of training, I mean, it sets you up for a great musical career outside of reading because you are
Yeah,
able to sort of absorb things at a very quick rate too. I mean,
yeah,
because like just your weekly practice, like you get what one practice. Well, for me, it was one practice, and then it's sermon, it's go time, and you cover what music's going on for that weekend or that Sunday, and then that's
yep,
it. and then you got to find the key. You'll see the MD or the keyboarders going through there trying to hear the key, like going
Hmm.
chromatically up the keyboard trying to find the
Yep.
keys.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a great training ground for someone who never learns music, but also it seems like it can be kind of a trap. Do you kind
Yeah.
of agree with that in the fact that people can get, and even in the style of playing, it can kind of be a trap because you kind of
Yeah.
get stuck in this style of playing where maybe you're trying to get hired for a rock gig and you're
Exactly.
doing all these gospel chords over.
You can. You can't play the same thing in every arena.
Right.
You have to be able to switch genres. Only way you can know it is by studying music. Like yeah, even though I was heavily in the gospel, um, before even like the gospel chops and things started happening, for me, it was listening to Joe Smith, who had a certain vibe on all of the Hawkins records, switching from that to listening to Sting or the Police,
Yeah.
which was my favorite band.
Yeah, they're
You know,
amazing. Yeah, of
I
course.
can't. Okay, so I can't play that here, and I can't play here. That maybe a little bit of it, but not much. Or going from there to uh, James Brown. It's all different. Like they're all different. You got to put on the different hats. But I think you get that way by expanding what your what you're listening to. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So it's important. It could be a trap for the arrogant guy. Think, oh, I can play in church now. I'm good. Okay, but that's not gonna really work over here. Okay, over there when we're playing certain pop records with artists, okay, take out all those passing chords. Okay, that chord is too big. That's not the chord we want right there. No. Some artists would be like, no, I don't want that. I want it just like it was on the record.
Right.
Just play that. Don't play nothing else. So that's the difference. But can you adapt?
Right.
As a musician, can you adapt?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean cuz things are changing constantly and once you think you have some sort of security in one place, it's not there anymore. There's no it's weird because it's like one of those businesses where there's like I don't know, like there's no real security in the future. Like there's nothing guaranteed in the future, which
Nothing,
is life
nothing.
anyways, but like
Yeah,
especially with this business, nothing's guaranteed.
right.
You're not guaranteed a career tomorrow, you
That's
know.
right. That's right. You got it. That's why my one analogy I always like to use. You just got to ride the waves.
Mm,
Surfers. I'm not a surfer, but I do watch it, and understand that the guys sit out there and they wait for that wave. When that wave comes, they ride it the best they can until it ends. And then when you want more, get get back down on your board, paddle out there, and hit the next one. You know, it's important. It's important.
what when did the Soul Seekers start coming into your career? When was that? When did that
Oh
come into
man.
play?
So the crazy thing is, in the year 2000, while we're getting set up with beginning that whole Timbaland and Aaliyah thing, Playa, Genuine, that was around the time we started the group, and everybody in the group was famous producers and musicians. Um, we were doing it because we loved doing it. We didn't have any intentions on going far, but a few years later, we got approached by a record label, and we said, "Hey, let's record a record." We did it all ourselves, and that was it. We
That's just
recorded
that simple.
simple. We did it at my church. We did it live. We bought in the truck to record it, and it came out. Next thing you know, we had the Soul Seekers. Our intention wasn't to become famous for that. We just loved the music and wanted to sing some songs that would help people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was around 2000, right? It all happened at the same time. I would be leaving. I'd be on tour and have to leave and go do a Soul Seeker gig, and it's crazy, crazy.
was there a time in all your travels where like everything sort of became overwhelming for you at any point where you just felt like you need to step back?
No, it wasn't that. I just knew I needed to take breaks and take
Mhm.
vacations, so I did that. I wish. See, I play golf now. I'm
Mm.
a addicted golfer. I love the game. I wish I would have been doing it back then. It would have helped, and plus with all the traveling and stuff. But yeah, no, I think that you know, I never really got overwhelmed. If I did, it was all about sleeping, and I always had the dream in mind. Like we got to keep going. We got to get after what it is we're trying to do to set a great career. So there would be times I would have different students. I mean, three different artists in three different studios. It would be crazy. Like live practicing for shows. Or this one, that one. I'm gonna sing this one over there. I'm gonna do this one in the morning and do that one at night. It used to be crazy. It was crazy, but I loved it. I loved it. That became my norm. Uh,
when did you get married?
2007.
Okay, so you
That's
now did that slow down? Did your scheduling and all like your just constant go,
uh,
or
no. What's crazy is we um so hilarious story. So when we got pregnant, um I was on tour. I was overseas. I was overseas with 50 Cent. It was coming up close to the date, and I was like, Lord, please please hold the baby till I get home. Please hold the baby till I get home. And then I would try to work it. So I mean, I adjusted a little. I adjusted, but I figured it out. I mean, I had to take care of the home. The home,
Mhm.
make sure everything was good. That was one thing that's big in our family with my dad. Make sure the home is good. The home fund is good. So that's one thing we did. So it slowed down a little bit, but it really slowed down when I became a pastor too,
Mm.
because it was good. Not there wasn't going to be a way. Like I tried this when I became the pastor in 2012. I remember maybe 6 months later, I had a tour that was booked that I did. I made a commitment to, and I went and did it. And I would fly and leave, and we'd have a Saturday off, or fly out and be on the East Coast, fly back home on uh, early Sunday morning to get back to church. Or if we're on the West Coast, I would leave and fly home to be at church Sunday morning, get right back on the plane, fly right back, and barely make a gig. Thank God I never missed any gigs, but that was so crazy. I do
Wow.
some crazy scheduling stuff. Like it's really crazy, but it slowed down, but it's good. As we started having more kids, um, you know, slowed down. I wanted to be around, just be
Yeah.
around kids. So I had to learn that I needed to do that, and it happened. It happened.
What was it? I don't want to say hard change because I'm not trying to paint it like it's hard to change for your family, but like being in the when you're in the momentum of a career like that,
Yeah,
was it hard for you to make those changes?
yeah, it was. Let's be honest. I mean, you have to adjust to what you're doing. You're working. You know, the music business is a different type of business. You can be here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not like a contracted business, but I'm thankful that I was able to have a great career and write enough songs to be able to do some great things. But yeah, it was just different, But now the way the business is kind of watered down, if you will. It's still a great business, but it's watered down, and anybody, because of these prepackaged things, everybody thinks they're producers,
Right.
songwriters, and the consumers are loving it. I'm kind of like, I'm not. But I'm older. I'm 45. I'll be 46 in a couple weeks. I'm not the guy that's gonna be in the studio all night like I used to be.
Mm.
I will be in there, So that I don't have no problem with that. I like getting done early,
Mhm.
chilling,
Yeah.
watching basketball, doing what I need to do. That's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah, man. It's like you did all that grinding out as a young man so you could chill out when you're a little,
Exactly.
in this time. You put in all that
Exactly.
work and now you're reaping the benefits of it. I was gonna ask you
Mhm.
about your office, because I
Yeah.
told my wife, I was like, "Y- I'm gonna get an office because, like I said, we work together, but then also I have my own personal things.
Mhm.
But she has no respect for boundaries, work boundaries. So I was curious when you got your office, is that something similar, or was it just like you just like to go somewhere and work by yourself and just be in your space. So what
Well, definitely. I okay, so I built the studio when I bought my house. I built a studio there,
mm,
and I was using it heavily for a while. And then I got married. Then the kids came, and I was never able to get any work in there done at all whatsoever. I gave the office to my wife so she can. I mean, the studio to her so she can use it as an office or whatever. And that's when I came down. I mean, here at the church. I'm at my church right
oh,
now. Our
okay,
church.
okay.
So I was here, but I built the studio here
Ah,
so that it could be far away from what you know whatever they got going on. Plus, I can the studio here is for my community development corporation. We're going to be teaching young kids how to write songs and
oh,
produce
that's beautiful.
records. So yeah, but to that question, yeah, it's challenging. Yeah, yeah, it's challenging. How you going to get stuff done? If I'm studying for what doing ministry. I'm like sitting on the side. I'm sitting on the floor. There's no space,
Mm.
nowhere. It's like tucked off. I think I do better at Starbucks or something. You know.
No, it's like she's doing better. Once I started talking about The Office, she started giving me a little bit more space. But
Yeah, I mean, we all got things to do, and
right,
it's a lot. I have a super full agenda just with what I do,
mm,
and I need it. So a lot of times my office is my truck,
mm.
or a lot of because I'm always on the go. But hey, that's what it is.
Hey man, like you gotta get busy. You gotta get work done. It just
That's
you
gotta
gotta
do
get
it,
it
bro.
done. It's like that's what I tell. It's like, well, you want food, you want clothes. It's like, well, let me work. It's
Yeah,
like I'm
exactly.
working over here.
Exactly. You're talking right. You're
Um,
talking right.
so what's the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you? And it can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about music.
Ricky Minor told me one time. He said, "Man, the places you want to go, you're not going to be able to take everybody with you. From a musician standpoint, from a band standpoint, I didn't know what it meant when he said it, but I ended up learning, and that was very true. Some of the places you go, some of the things you want to do, you just can't take everybody with you. Everybody doesn't fit in every space, and that's not a negative way to speak negative about anybody or anything. It just is what it is. Everybody's not good at adapting in certain settings. Not that you have to be fake at all, but you do have to be respectful
Mm.
of other settings. So that was one of the things that was told to me. And my father always said, you got to have money coming in from multiple places. Don't depend on one source. Because, hey, if that source dries up, then what you going to do?
Yeah, that's great
Uh,
advice.
yeah.
That's great
Mhm.
because that's exactly that's exactly what the life that you're living. That's exactly the life I'm living on a
Yeah.
much smaller scale. But like it's there. The
Okay.
grind is there. It's every day, and
Yeah. Yeah, man.
you have to set yourself up to have multiple ways of doing things, or else it's just. I mean, like, could you imagine yourself as a factory worker at all?
Yeah. If I had to, I would. For my family, I would. Would I want to? Heck no. But the reality is that these are things that we have to do, and what we do in music. I mean, I'm grateful for because it could be some. Another gentleman told me one time. He said, "We really overpaid as musicians. If you look at school teachers and you look at some policemen and sheriff, we're overpaid. But I'll be overpaid, but I'm gonna be grateful
Mm.
that this is the career that I've chosen. So
And you've seemed to have given back, and like especially and you're the pastor for the church that your father founded.
yes,
That's
yes,
beautiful.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like you're in a you're giving back to your community. I mean, like just you're talking about teaching young people how to write music and
yeah,
and not get handled by the industry and stuff like that. So,
right,
I mean that's all you could do, right? Like it's like
right.
yeah,
That's
you
right.
get
That's
paid
what
a
we're
lot of
called to
money,
do.
but like but you're also returning a lot of that with your time and your energy. You're giving back to and you're affecting so many people. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, like That's great, man. That's great, and
Well,
I
that's how the world's supposed to go. That's how it's supposed to
agree,
be.
agree.
We all should give back. I'm excited. One of the things at the heart of what I'm doing is my community development corporation called Elevated Community Development Corp, ECDC. You know, I post about it. I talk about it. You can find some stuff on my new company, the BPM company, on our YouTube channel, talking about Elevated. It's really see, the thing is, I grew up and our church is in Linwood. I learned everything professionally that I would do in the future. I learned it right here in this small community, an underserved community, if you will.
Mhm.
And so my father had a vision to help people in this community. He provided a space for us to play music and have a good time and learn it in church. And I said, why don't I take that? Why don't I do the same thing? And so with our community development corporation, we're going to help young people to let them see the alternatives to the trouble that may be in their surrounding areas. You know, we're feeding people, we're uh, taking people. We have a thing that I created called the Hope Ride, in which we take people that never really come out of the inner city, take them around, and let them see and dream, see things that they haven't seen before,
Wow.
and how opportunities of a career, what could really be ahead for them in their future if they make the right decision. So the giving back piece is the main thing, man. That's what we have to do, and I have joy in doing it. I've done everything I wanted to do, man, and God has been good to me. My family's been good to me. My friends, I have not one complaint, and I want to just, our world is it's a tricky place, and then in America, where we're known as one of the greatest countries, absolutely, or the greatest country. Even in that does not define us as being perfect at all. There's so much that we have to do to improve in our communities and our people, whether it's race, poverty, all of these things. Uh, and I want to help. I don't want nobody. If I have some good information, I'm going to give it to everybody so that they know what to do and can help. They have an opportunity, and they won't be able to say, "No one told me this." Well, come around me, I told you so.
I told you
Yep.
so. Um, we're wrapping up here, so I got just a couple of rapid
Oh,
fire
sure.
questions for you. So,
Oh, sure.
what is a seminal album for you? And it doesn't have to be just one, but an album or an artist that you listen to that just completely changed the way you look at music, the way that you
Uh,
create, and
Easy.
yeah,
Number one, Prince, Purple Rain.
Prince. God. That I love it when
Prince.
my guests have it just ready to go. Like they just already know. It's like
Let
it's
me tell you,
Prince.
Prince, straight up, Prince, Purple Rain. Michael Jackson's Off the Wall and Thriller. The Hawkins family, a gospel thing, Love Alive too. Uh, then all of commissioned is a gospel group that when I was young, they were amazing. So everything that they put out. Um, and then Chick Corea and the Electric Band, all of that and stuff. Those are the things that helped me. But for producing wise, hands down between Purple Rain and then Off the Wall and Thriller.
What specifically about Purple Rain and Thriller did you did like that you focused in on when listening to that and then forms you now?
So with Prince, we all know was probably one of the funkiest musicians next to James Brown, and it had a little pop undertone to it, of course. However, how he would produce those albums and songs and the sounds that he would use and the melodies that was created, hands down, I felt like I was in a circus, and whole bunch of stuff is going on and it's just still all working together. Like that's the best way. Or you know how on your computer, my computer's doing it right now, when it goes into sleep mode and it's you see the colors are
Yeah.
doing their thing
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
That's what like to me listening to Prince is like. And people argue Prince, Michael Jackson. For me, you know, I mean I love Michael Jackson. I would probably would have loved to perform with him and be his drummer. But Prince, I've actually played the drums with Prince one time, and I
Wow.
was like, ah, ooh, I thought, I could have died and gone to heaven, but not literally, but
Right.
you know, but
What
man,
what
but
was that
yeah, no,
experience like? What was your interaction with Prince like?
oh man. Okay, I'm gonna tell you exactly. We were there. It was a BET Awards. It was a tribute to Shaka Khan, and you know, he came in, and I think we played "I Feel for You," which he uh, produced and wrote, I believe. And he came in. It was a bunch of. I mean, it was a super big band. The band from the show, some of Shaka's band, and Prince comes in, and we're playing, and we're jamming, and everybody's thinking we're jamming, but I'm watching him. I'm just that guy. I'm watching him. I'm playing. I want to make sure I'm playing the way he heard it when he created it. Uh, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of everybody jamming and playing all of this music, a lot of gospel guys, Prince just in the middle of the jam session put his guitar down and went and sat in the corner on the couch. He sat in the corner on the couch and crossed his leg. And I was like, something happened. And nobody's paying attention to it, but I'm watching it the whole time. And I'm watching, I'm like, these people didn't see what he just did. And so everybody kind of said it like Shaka was like, hey, everybody, okay. He's like, what happened? He was like, there's nothing to play. And he said that just like that. I mean, everybody was just playing and jamming and noodling. That was a lesson. That was a big lesson for that room, everybody in that room. Then he came in, and then I was playing. I was trying to play it, the whole medley, because he played the whole medley with us. And and I was like, everything cool. He said, yeah, because he said, just do me one favor. He said, just hit the high, because sometimes the hi hat we play with a ghost note.
Yeah.
Here's no play it like I need every note of it hard. And that little thing right there made it funkier to the place where I went back and listened to his records and I see what he was talking about. I see what he was trying to do. Hands down, and then when I seen him in concert for the first time, it was like the intro was 45 minutes. My buddy John Blackwell, rest in peace, was playing the drums. And it was like, I can't believe how they just killed. He's like, are y'all ready to go? I'm like, I thought the concert was over, like 45 minutes worth of hits, not, and it was, oh man. So yeah, Prince. Prince.
What I just to clarify, was that lesson you learned from Prince that day, was that to simplify things, or is that not just the hi-hat, but you were saying everybody was sort of noodling and he said there was nothing for him to play.
Yeah.
What was he saying, that he wanted to be simpler, or was it just that there were so many great musicians on stage, is like, why is he even up there? Or like,
No,
no,
it was like, it's too much. We're playing too much. It's too much noodling. It's too
too much
much jam
noise.
vibing, too much, but it's nothing is happening together.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That was a life-changing moment, straight up.
It has to
Like
be. It's Prince. How is it
I
not a
said,
life-changing
oh man,
moment?
and then yeah, man, it was just really, that moment was something. And then actually play that show with him on stage, it was crazy. And then seeing, my friends play with him again, John Blackwell, rest in peace, Cora Coleman, when she played with him, did Super Bowls, halftime specials, and it was all good, man. It had a different thing. It was all live too. It was live. Nothing was programmed. It was like, get it, let's get it. You know, and I love that. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was one of those losses when I found out that Prince passed. That those were one of those
Oh man,
losses where I was just like, this is not even true. Like, this can't even be possible. Like,
man.
how is this? How are we gonna? How is the world going to turn
Yeah,
without that
I'm
man?
looking for, like, who was that next young. When Prince came in and he was young and writing these songs and producing at a fabulous high level. Okay, it's like, okay, now I'm looking like, who's the next one? Where's the next one at?
Hmm.
Who's coming to do that again?
Right.
Because you need that. You need that, somebody that comes in the game that's so different from everything that's been out. That's what Prince did. That's what Michael did too when he came. But Michael Jackson did. Like, nothing sounds like this, and
Right.
nothing sounds as good. Like, boom. Like it's kind of like when Dr. Dre came out with the Chronic. Like,
Right.
oh my God, what is this? No, nothing sounds like this. Like,
Just
and I feel
transcended
like,
music. Yeah.
man. So I'm like, what is the next thing?
Right.
I'm looking for the next thing. Hopefully, it's something I'm involved in, and I could have my hand in, and I could make a lot of money off it. And all I could really do from that point is just play golf for the rest of my days and go to church.
I like it. I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
I had another question popped up into my
Oh,
head.
good. Come on, let's go. We here.
Just with MD and producing, do you see a lot of crossover things in that?
So you're talking about between that and doing it live, basically.
Right,
Yes,
exactly. What?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You want to. One of the things, and Bruno Mars is good at this. Shout out to the Hooligans, my boys. The guys, those guys are great.
That's his backing band?
The band, yeah, they
Okay.
play the record. You never want to veer too far from the record for the audience, because that's what they listen to. That's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So you have to. I always wanted to approach my live, like my drum playing is more from a producer standpoint than it is just a drummer, because I'm not the showman guy. I can't get in there and do all the stuff that like the young kids do. But as far as the records, I love to play the records, like the records. So for me and my style of musical directing, the majority of it, let's play this record. Let's make the record sound like it's on steroids. Don't make the record sound like something else. Just take that record and give it a little more muscle.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course it definitely crosses for me.
Oh,
So
sweet.
and then sometimes it's some artists they want you to no go crazy. I want to have more this that more. I'm like okay, but I'll try to give them what they want. But my style is let's just make those records sound on steroids.
I like that. I like
Yeah, man.
that. So what are you currently working on now? Now that we're wrapping up here. What's happening now? What are you doing now? Are you talking about your community corporation? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
messing
yeah,
up the name.
yeah,
You talking
Elevated,
about some
yeah, Elevated
um
Community Development Corporation, aka ECDC. My church, Greater Emmanuel Temple. I'm in the studio. Well, the BPM company is my new company. We're creating content. We're servicing and helping other artists to be great. So the BPM company, they can check us out at thebpmcompany.com. Also, you know, life and beats per minute is something I was just really trying out, just to have some good conversations with some good people about life and about life and about uh, the rhythms of life. That's one of the things that's going on. Um, and I'm getting in, and I'm going to be doing an album soon. So
okay.
we're going to see what happens with that.
So like a solo album.
Yeah, or a band. I'm gonna get in and just create and have fun, and we're gonna see what's gonna come out of it.
Well,
That's
I'm
what it's
excited for
gonna be.
that.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Well,
So,
that's awesome,
with
man.
some amazing musicians too. So
I want to say it again. I liked your podcast, and one of the things that I liked about it is that it was very natural. Like it wasn't something that felt like forced. It wasn't
right,
like, here's my question and there's your answer. You know what I
right,
mean? It's
right.
like it was
Thank you.
very much a back and forth,
Well,
and,
thank you.
and that's one thing that I strive to do myself. So that's what I recognized right away was that like that very easy back and forth you have with your guests, and I only got to watch one episode, so like I don't know how the other
Well,
maybe
I
that's
got
not how it is on the other episodes, but I assume that it is.
I got you. Well, thank you. Well, you're not so bad yourself, Mike.
I appreciate it.
You
I
hold it
appreciate
down.
it.
I'm learning from you.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you very much. That's a great compliment. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you giving me your time for the last hour and 40 minutes
Anytime, man. Anytime.
chatting it up with me, man. I really do appreciate it. And we'll be looking for that new album.
Got you, man. We're gonna be looking for some stuff you're doing too, man. So hit me up. Let me know what's going on. Anything I can support. Hey, man, I'll do my best.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind and generous. Thank you very much, Nisan Stewart. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. You got my number. You know how to catch me, Mike.
Thank you, Nisan. I truly appreciate you coming on the show and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to your fans, to talk to me, and definitely go and support Nisan and everything he's got coming up. Check out his Life in Beats Per Minute podcast, which is on right now. You can go download it right this second at Apple iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube is awesome because there's a video aspect to it as well. I really liked his podcast, and I think he does a great job at as a host as well, especially for someone who's, I don't know if he's ever hosted anything like that before, but he seemed pretty natural at it. So thank you, Nisan. Thank you. As for the world going to shit, well, you know, this is the first week of this pandemic, and already I'm seeing musicians and artists come together and do amazing things. And so the show from this point through the rest of the time of this pandemic, we're going to be not focusing on it, but we're going to be doing bonus episodes. It's going to be incorporated into the show. It has to be. Like, there's no way I can not talk about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be talking to musicians about what they're doing, how they're getting by, how they're making money, how they're creating, and what they're doing to get through this. We're also going to be doing the retrospective of their musical career and stuff as well, but I kind of want to, I'm not refocusing the show at all. I'm just telling you the show's going to go on as normal, but we're going to be talking about this. I mean, this is this pandemic. I mean, this is unprecedented in our lifetime. I mean, the last time I can remember anything close to this kind of chaos is 9/11. So, and that it dates me. I mean, I'm the old man, you know. And by the way, young people, get off the fucking beach. Go home. Don't give grandma the virus because you want to go out and eat Molly and bang. Just stay home for a couple weeks. How about that? I'm sorry, I'm that old guy who's saying this. I remember when I was in my 20s, if an old guy said stop partying, I was like partying 10 times harder. And then going back to the old man and say, fuck you, old man, I'm wasted, you know. Which is ridiculous. Don't do that. No, but these are weird times. And these are strange and scary times, and I just can't stress enough to be good to your fellow human beings and through all of this. This is this now more than ever. HJ's for everybody too, but more than ever, being good to your fellow human being is so important. We don't want. I posted something on my Facebook the other day that said if people will fight over a good deal at Walmart at Christmas time, what do you think people will fight about when there's no food and there's, you know, like, how far do you think people can go? And the worst part about being me is that I like to just imagine the worst possible outcome to the most heightened, horrifying things. So, like, in my mind, it's like the pandemic today, and then tomorrow it's roving bands of psychos fucking raping our daughters and stealing our stuff and murdering our family in front of us. That's where my mind goes, because I've read so many of these fucking books about post-apocalyptic living. It's I don't know. It's just, I have an extra worry because I've read so much about it, and I know it's fiction. I know it's not real, but fuck, it's real now. And I'm seeing things that I'm seeing in books that I'm seeing in real life, down to like how to deal with anxiety through the pandemic, like just those flyers, like those details that are in books, like those little details, like how to get through, you know, the zombie apocalypse without fucking freaking out, you know, like these little flyers that people find within these books. It's like, it's just down to those details is what I'm seeing happen, and that's what's so scary about everything. And I don't think that's where our heads should be. And that's definitely not where my head should be. So let's try to take a breath, and let's try to be with the ones we love. Let's focus on love. Let's just be in our houses with the people we love. Let's focus on loving each other, and let's just focus on just being good to one another. Let's just focus on that. Let's not focus on the rising numbers. Let's not focus on like be weary of your neighbor and stuff. Let's just focus on the people that are with us right here, right now, and let's try to be closer. Let's try to learn something new about each other, and let's create new stuff. I love so going back to my original point here with the show and what we're going to be doing with the coronavirus situation is we're going to be talking to musicians and talking about how they're handling it. And so our first episode that has to do with that is already in the can. It's with Louis Venezuela. He's been on the show before. He's a fantastic jazz guitarist. He's a prominent working musician in San Diego. And he right away Monday morning came and he was on it. He put together an online band. They're going by the Corona Crew. They have songs. They have 2 songs out already, and it's only Wednesday. And it's fucking awesome. Like the fucking like the music is good too, and it's sort of this collaboration between all these just badass musicians, and it's so cool. And so Friday we're gonna be releasing a bonus episode featuring Louis V, and we're going to be talking to him about what he's doing, and of course I go into my whole like crazy apocalypse talk and thinking and stuff. So but we're just trying to find solutions to this crazy problem that we're facing right now. I don't know if you guys have put this together, but with the closing of all the bars and theaters, musicians have currently lost their jobs in one small announcement. Well, I guess it's not a small announcement. It's a huge announcement. So we're kind of out of work here, and we're trying to figure out different ways to make money. And so I'm just sort of putting a think tank-y thing idea together. And it's sort of a loose idea, and it'll probably develop as it goes. But yeah, and obviously we'll be doing the podcast on the phone and over Skype per usual, which is weird because I've been doing it all year like that. I realized that I haven't done one in-person interview all year. I think I had one. I think I had one in-person interview all year, which is crazy because I love the in-person one. So right now it's not gonna be 2 people. It's gonna just be the over the phone or Skype thing, social distancing. But yeah, well, the show is always meant to be malleable for me. It was created to bend with wherever I'm going, to mold to whatever I'm doing. So this works perfectly for me. I mean, like I communicate online, and so it's been great reaching out and getting such a positive response from musicians, because musicians, they want to talk. They want to talk about this stuff. So I honestly, when I started sending out emails on Monday, I thought maybe this is a little insensitive to what's currently going on. Maybe this is, people are sitting there trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. They don't want to talk to my dumb ass. So, but it didn't turn out that way. It turned out that people they do want to talk. They want to talk about this, and we're social beings. We want to talk to each other. We want to be with each other. So, we're working on it, and so this podcast will help facilitate that in any way it can. So our next episode coming out this Friday will be with Louis V, and it's going to be a bonus episode. It's not going to be the super long episodes like this. It'll be a shorter episode, but we're talking about what he's doing. We're talking about what we can be doing, and and he talks me off a ledge. So. There you go. That'll be the show notes for the show notes description will be that. It was like we're talking about what he's doing, what we can be doing, and he talks Mikey P off the ledge. All right. Okay, so that's it for me, guys. I'm gonna get back to trying to focus on love with my family and work. If you can work. Be with your family. Focus on love. And if you got shit to do, you got shit that you've been wanting to do. If you're one of those musicians, if you're like me, and you're so fucking busy with everybody else's stuff that you don't have time for your own, guess what? You got time for your own shit now. So go do that shit. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be focusing on just getting my shit done, or trying to get my shit done. We'll see what happens. I still have a family, and that's the other part of this, which makes it a little bit harder, is that you are stuck with your family. And I don't know about your family, but if I'm trying to work and my family's around, it's almost impossible. So right now they're letting me work, but I want to emphasize they're letting me work. They are holding restraint, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, because they just want to be with me. So that's very nice. And I'm not rejecting that. I just need to get some shit done. So get shit done, guys. Get out there, get shit done. Love your family. And stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be in the shit. We're here with you guys. Just remember, be good to your fellow human beings. HJs for everybody. I'll see you guys next week with Blaine Dillinger from Hyrie. Another podcast that was recorded before the pandemic went pandemic-y on us. And then after that, it's going to be all just pandemic guests. So we got Blaine Dillinger coming up from Hyrie, and then look out for the bonus episode this Friday, March 20th, with Louis V. And we're going to be talking about the pandemic. So again, be good to your fellow human beings. I clapped with that to emphasize my point. Be nice at the grocery fucking store, okay? It's okay. You can let the old lady go first. Social distancing, just keep your distance from that old lady. Let her go first. Let her get the last loaf of bread, okay? That's okay. It's okay if she gets the last loaf of bread. They say there'll be more. One more thing that I'm going to say, and this is not to cause panic, but it was told to me, and this is what I did. It was told to me from a very credible medical professional who is on the front lines of this disease. He said have provisions for 3 weeks. So that's what he told me. I have provisions for 3 weeks. I don't know if I'm going to need them, but who cares? I know they're saying don't panic buy. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe don't panic buy. I'm not trying to panic anybody. All I'm saying is this is what I did because I was given information from someone that I trust. And so 3 weeks provisions. Take it however you want. But remember, be good to your fellow human beings. HJs for everybody. I'll see you guys Friday.